Welcome, welcome, welcome everyone to another episode of the Get to Know Her show. I am so happy to have you here today. This is fantastic. We've got a very exciting guest today, my dear friend, Kim Belanger. She is so wonderful, so lovely, inspiring, beautiful. You're going to just fall in love with her like I have. Kim and I met a few years ago when a mutual friend of ours had passed away, and I will talk to you a little bit more about that with Kim. But Kim is a designated lay minister with the United Church of Canada, and she's a mom, she's a wife, she's so many things, and she's got a lot of great stories, which I'm going to pull out of her today. We're going to have a great conversation. But before we get started, I wanted to show you my lovely top I'm wearing from our sponsor, who we love so much, Brenda Bedome. And I've got Brenda's pants on as well. But isn't this great? I love this top. So the reason I love this top so much, we'll get back to the top. See the mask here? This is my friend Hides in Hand, who makes these masks with our mask chains. And I had to wear it all together because it really works with Brenda's top today. But I don't know about you guys, anybody out there suffering from hot flashes, because I am. And these sleeveless little tops Brenda does are amazing. They're so roomy, and I can whip my jacket off. I think you're going to see me out there in January in a snowstorm whipping off my jacket with this underneath while having one of my hot flashes. Anyway, check out brendabedome.com. Do not forget to use the coupon code Get to Know Her, because it's going to get you 10% off. And send me a picture of yourself in your Brenda clothes. I'd love to see what you guys are ordering from her. Her clothes are so great. So please send me pics. I want to see. I am bringing Kim on right now. There she is.
Hey, Monica.
How you doing, girl?
Good. Happy anniversary.
Oh my gosh, thank you. So crazy. It's a great day. And my husband and I, we got up this morning, we did our routine stuff. And then I said, oh, hey, happy anniversary. He goes, isn't it Monday? I go, nope, it's Tuesday. And we're both laughing. And I was like, see, that's why we're together, because
at least you both
it's forgot. All good. Yeah, we both forgot. Exactly.
Better that than just one of you, because that would suck.
I know, that's so true. And you know what? For him, like he likes the wedding anniversary, but he's all about the first date. Like to him, that is the ultimate.
And do you remember the date of that?
January 9th.
Look at you.
1997.
Whew.
I know. Isn't that great? That's a long time ago.
It is. When you do the math, it is. We're still 25, right? We have an age. We're still
25. We're still 25. Hello. Totally.
25 years old and having hot flashes.
Yeah. I think it's normal for any 25-year-old to be experiencing. Oh gosh, Kim, I'm so happy you're here. We have so much to talk about because I want to get into the wedding stuff. And I do want to tell you about how I got married. You might not know the story.
No.
I do want to tell you about that today.
Okay.
So, but I did want to open up with, I am so grateful for our friendship. And we were brought together as friends under very sad circumstances. We both lost a dear friend. And you had the very hard job of being the minister at the church that my friend belonged to, and had to conduct a funeral while you yourself were also mourning the loss of a close friend. And who better to do it but you? But I can't imagine what that day was like for you, and what the grief was intense for all of us on that day. And I did want to thank you for something. So this podcast, obviously, it's all about female empowerment and women who have, really struck a chord with me and just inspired me in so many ways. And Kim, on that week before our friend's funeral, you had come to me and said, listen, I know that you guys have been friends since grade 3. You would be the perfect person to do her eulogy. And my stomach flipped. I felt sick. I thought, I no, I'm not doing that. And you very kindly said to me, I want you to write the eulogy. I want you to write it from your heart. The family is on board. We all think you'd be the perfect person to do it. And if you can't do it, at least it's written out and I can take over at any time. And that, it just made me feel so important and so like I really wanted to then. When you said it in those words to me, I was like, I want to do this. I have to do this for my friend. And I managed to do it. My knees were shaking, but I did it.
You did an amazing job as well and made it through. I remember sitting behind you with your notes because I had printed everything out and I was reading along with you and a couple of words ahead of you just to know what was coming so that I would know, okay, this is going to be a tougher moment, but you were amazing. And what a gift it was to all of her family and all of her friends to hear firsthand your growing up times, the things that you shared and those kinds of things that are just really, really important and stories that I couldn't share from, in the brief time that I had been friends with her. But it was exciting. So I'm grateful to you that you trusted me with that. So thank you.
Yeah, I really did. And in the end, it was the best thing for my healing that I could have done. And thank you, because you've been there for me all along through the years, and we've been in touch and we've had so many nice chats together, and you're just such a wonderful person. So that's how I wanted to start today. Thank you so much. And Kim,
yes,
I want to know, this is the big question I ask all of my guests. What did little Kim want to be when she grew up? Was this always in your scope of, nope.
Heck no. No, wow. I wanted to be a hairstylist from But fun fact, my youngest daughter is currently doing an OEAP, which is an Ontario Youth Apprenticeship Program through in high school. So she's actually doing cosmetology and is online right now doing her classes because that's how they're doing classes in the afternoon in the Halton school. So, I wanted to be a hairdresser and then kind of strayed away from that a little bit. And everybody said, you'll be really good with kids, do something with kids. Went to school for a little bit in the child and youth worker program.
Okay.
Didn't love it. Didn't love where I was living. Didn't love some of the things that I was facing. And so, it didn't feel well physically for a long time. And so just kind of took a break from that. And then started, just working kind of part-time at the mall, at Northern Reflections.
Wow. Northern Reflections. Are they still around?
They are.
Okay.
Very, very stylish stuff still for as people are getting, a little bit more mature in their years, maybe. But some of the stuff is really, really great. And I loved the environment there, and it was just really great. And it was what I needed at that point. So when I was doing that, I also started working at the church that I grew up in Oakville, and started doing some of the youth programming there. And so that's really where I started. And it was just like a part-time, I think it was like 8 hours, less than 8 hours a week. So I could do that, still work at the mall, babysit. I was a nanny, did all of those things in a short period of time. And then I was a dental assistant for a bit, which I loved at the time. Then got married, was still working at the church that we got married in, that, I had grown up in, and then left that church after our wedding, just because it was okay, I need to shift from being Kim Roberts, and now I'm married and I'm Kim Belanger, and I need to not just be recognized for that little girl anymore. So then started working at a different church, got a call to apply for a position working in youth, doing some youth ministry stuff downtown Oakville. Got that position and was there for a significant period of time, and have just recently moved to a church in Burlington. So I've kind of morphed over the years from children's ministry, youth ministry, adult ministry, but I love it. And, part of the joy of my calling is being able to walk with families in in great times, but also in difficult times. So
Mm-hmm.
it's neat to build those relationships with people over the years. And I mean,
Yeah.
I'm a people person and I like to connect with people. So for me, it's just been a real blessing.
Wow, that's great. And so, Kim, after high school, what did you end up doing? Did you go for like to college or university, or did you start working right away?
I started working after high school. I went to Centennial College right away. And that for me was, and this is back in the day when we had grade 13. Remember those days?
Oh, yeah.
Right?
I left high school, went to Sheridan College to take early childhood education. Then that was grade 12. And then you know what happened? There were so many girls and they were so much more mature than me and they had boyfriends and it was like serious stuff. And I was like, I don't relate to these people.
There, yeah.
So I went back. I did a semester at Sheridan and then I begged my high school, please take me back. I want to finish my grade 13. And well, I didn't have to beg. It was fine. I hear you. Good old
There's something about that 5th year in high school that just helps get people ready.
Oh,
and
totally.
I mean, I don't know how people are ready to go off to school at 17 years old when
even to make that kind of decision as to what it is you want to do. I mean,
well, and how many people stay in the career that they think they want to do right out of high school, right? Like,
yeah. No.
I mean, I forget what the stats are, but people change their line of work so many times over the years. So
yeah. So what did you take then at Centennial College?
It was child and youth working that I was taking.
It was child and youth. Okay.
And college, I mean, some of my friends went to university and they had 5 courses and like 15 hours of classes a week. I had 7 classes and 24 hours. I was like, oh my gosh, this is ridiculous. But it wasn't for me at the time. So I ended up taking, I went back to school to do my dental assisting. So chair side, I was the one that got to suck the spit and hold all the things beside you and shine the light in your face. Those things, you know.
Love it.
But I loved it because, again, I got to sit with people, right? To help them not be so afraid of the dentist and all those kinds of things. So did that for a bit and then did some online courses. And that's kind of what led me into my path of ministry. So.
Wow. Oh, that's amazing. So we wanted to talk a little bit about weddings today. So
what time of year or time of life to get married in COVID?
Oh, no kidding. So back when Wayne and I got married 17 years ago, he kept, let's plan something. And every time I'd say, oh, this is too stressful. I don't want to plan anything. And it was at a time when I was doing like 24 craft shows a weekend, a year with and it was just a lot. And then thinking about family coming from overseas, the whole thing overwhelmed me. And my attitude about weddings was kind of like, listen, if I want to be with someone, I'm going to be with them. I don't need to have all that paperwork. I don't need that stuff. Like, I'm just going to stick around. Right.
Yeah.
But he said, no, we got to do this. So we were planning a trip to go to Kelowna, BC to visit best friends out there. And he said, well, we're going to be out there anyway. Let's just get married. So we eloped. We did not tell anyone. And, people weren't really that happy with us when we got back. We ended up, we got married September the 29th. On January the 9th, the anniversary of the first date, we had a big party at the Black Bull in Burlington where we did invite friends and family, and it was a lot of fun. And then the following April, we had our honeymoon. So it was like a nice stretched out
series of... You're going to celebrate. You may as well celebrate as long as you can. Right?
Yeah, for sure. So... Yeah. But I'm just curious to know because, we sort of did it on a whim. We found a minister quickly. We had a little cup of tea at his house the night before. And, I think the only thing he coached us on, he said, I can tell when a couple gets married who's going to stay together and who isn't. And you guys are built to last. Like, I'll tell you right now, you're going to stay together. And he goes, and tomorrow morning, you're going to wake up and you're going to regret it. And you're going to ask me to annul it. And you're going to have all these panicked feelings, but just ignore them, push them aside. They go away. It's totally normal. And I was like, oh, okay. And that was the advice we received before getting.
It's so nerve-wracking, right? Because it's a whole new adventure, and learning how to be married is very different than, just dating or living together or whatever else. It's a next step in becoming grown up.
Yeah. So do you sit down with couples, Kim, beforehand and sort of
Yeah,
talk to them? And
most couples I do. I have the advantage of a lot of couples that I marry, I know.
okay.
Some of them have been like kids that I babysat for or was a nanny for. And so it's this super emotional, this little girl now walking down the aisle, and you flip back to seeing her as this little 6-year-old who threw up on her Mickey Mouse shoes, and I had to go help her at school. Or one of my best friends, she grew up in Kitchener, then moved to Halifax, and then was getting married. But then in the midst of all that was also moving to Victoria. I got to officiate and be part of her wedding. So a lot of these weddings, I've just had the joy of being part of their lives ahead of time, which is awesome. And so that helps me make the whole ceremony much more personal, right? Because there's nothing worse than going to a wedding or even a funeral where the person officiating doesn't know the couple, right?
Right.
To me, there's just something more genuine about it. So I do try, even the couples that I don't really know, I do try and chat with them a little bit ahead of time, just to figure out, who they are, and just to guide them as we create the service together. Because every wedding, every ceremony is so different from the next. And that's what makes your wedding so important, right? It's about you and your partner. It's not about everybody else who wants to have a say in things. It's kind of like childbirth. People always tell you the horror stories, right? Like, you will never guess what happened to me. And you're like, oh my gosh, I hope this baby stays inside of me forever. Kind of like weddings too. There's always family drama. There's never a wedding that happens that doesn't have a hiccup along the way. But as long as you as a partnership kind of stay in control of that, and if you are calm, it's amazing how that just facilitates out to everybody else too, right? People are going to be more relaxed when they come to your wedding because they sense that, oh, look, the couple is calm. This is all about them. It's not about me, because I don't, sometimes parents want to have a say, or siblings, or long lost friends who decide that they need to be in your wedding party. And, there's all sorts of, it's drama. And especially right now during COVID, I mean, there's been so many weddings that have been postponed because of, we can't gather, you can't have more than a certain amount of people. And so it's about being creative. And I just really encourage couples to listen to their own hearts and to listen to each other, so that as they plan that ceremony, it is about them. There's something important. Maybe there's a different element to it. I've done weddings that have had sand ceremonies. I've done weddings where it's a second marriage, so there's been kids on either side, and so we incorporate the children as part of the ceremony. I've done a wine box and blessing where they write love letters to each other and seal it up. And then on their 5th anniversary, they open the box and read love letters. And everybody has a different style and a different flair that they want to add to it, right? And location is a big thing now too. I'm happy to marry people wherever they are comfortable. Not everybody's, wanting to get married in a church, and that's fair. I've been in the midst of a cornfield, and it was the most beautiful wedding. And
amazing.
I've been in the old mill and had weddings there. I've actually done a wedding in the hospital chapel as well.
Oh, that's quite something.
Yeah.
What was the circumstance for that?
They were going to get married, and the groom, became very ill and wasn't going to make it to the original date that they had planned. And so they called, and we had a day and a half to plan the ceremony. And it was beautiful. The nurses and doctors all came, and it was just, he was in a wheelchair, and they tied Band-Aids and gauze all in behind, just married, and had styrofoam cups, and the family was all there. And the family who couldn't be there, we FaceTimed them in, and it was just a beautiful, beautiful time. So,
that's so lovely. Wow.
Emotional, right? And I know them well, and I was it was very emotional. So
yeah, I can imagine. Now, during COVID, Kim, have you married anyone in the last 6 months?
I haven't.
No.
I've had a lot of postponed or
Mm-hmm.
rescheduled or yeah.
Yeah.
Now the added bonus is that if you had your wedding license, because when you apply to get your wedding license, you have 3 months from the day that you fill out, like you would go and say, I want to get married on September 29th. Well, you have, you know, September, October, like you have all those, or if you got your license today, you have 3 months to get married on the proposed date. They've now extended that license. So if you got your license between a certain time, I wrote it down for you, between December 1st, 2019 and July 24th, 2020, you now have until July 24th, 2022 to have that license, which is great, right? So that you're not going to pay for another license, applying for another license and those kinds of things. A lot of the wedding venues right now are trying to make it work for people. We were supposed to be in Arizona this weekend at my goddaughter's wedding, and originally they had changed it, you know, so that like we were going to be there, and then it was nope. Now Arizona rules have changed. They had to make numbers less, and then it got to be, well, what happens if we can go? What's the right thing to do with our numbers climbing? And thankfully, it's just a smaller wedding now, but it's that heartbreak of not being able to be there, right? And so my heart just aches for couples right now who are trying to do their best to have this beautiful wedding of their dreams that they've always, you know, as little girls and little boys or whatever, they've dreamt of this day, and now it
is really hard. And when it all first started, we thought, well, you know, maybe people's plans will be put off for a year, no big deal. But, you know, without us seeing, you know, sort of a light at the end of the tunnel in terms of when a vaccine is going to come out and all that sort of thing. I mean, people, you know, they want to get married so that they can get on with things and start a family. And so, you know, it's not like everyone's got 5 years to wait to get married.
No. And that's the thing, right? And so I have had conversations with a few couples and have just said, like, here's what it takes for us to have your wedding. Me, the two of you, and 2 witnesses. So if you have, you know, a set date that you want to be married in, because dates are important to people, right? Some people are very much, they want to do, you know, on this day, like if you, was it January 9th? If that was the day that you were like, that was our first day, that's the day we want to get married, then we would work to make that happen, right? And so we can do that a little bit with COVID. It just means that you then have the party later. But and I've done that before too for destination weddings. You know, sometimes I've married couples in advance, very, very quietly. But then when they go to Mexico or wherever else that they're getting married, they still have the big wedding there, but they're already legally married here in Canada, just so that they don't have to pay the extra. So, I mean, it's all about making it your day and special for you in that moment, rather than getting everybody else up. And do not make it for everybody else. So.
Wow. So as you've seen couples get married, and are there any sort of things that you think, well, these are the wonderful things people do that have a successful marriage? Like, is there anything that stands out to you that makes a marriage successful? Or
communication is key. It's funny, right? Because you see kind of who takes the lead in certain things, who takes the lead in planning things, who takes the lead in booking all the things, and who takes the lead in writing the vows, or do they not want to write their own vows? And communication would be key. People who talk together, people who experience life together, that's really good to see. And those are the couples that you kind of go, if they can get through this, they can get through. And
and I can imagine, you know, as life goes on, and like for Wayne and I, we don't have kids, so we're constantly communicating. Like we still will be like, oh my God, it's after midnight, we got to go to bed. Like it's nonstop talking sometimes, which I'm so grateful for. And I think that is part of, you know, why we've been married for 17 years. But you know, if there were kids in the mix and all that, sometimes I wonder, like, how do people manage that? Because so much is built around kids. Do you talk to couples about that as well, about the importance of carving out time
I
for
do.
just the two of them? And
yeah. And that's something that I'll often include in the ceremony, that recognizing that even though, you know, your two separate lives are coming together as one, it's really important to still pour into those lives as individuals too, because when you're happy in those individual lives, you'll be even happier as a married couple, because you're not, you know, there's nothing worse than having that friend that gets married and then ditches all of their friends from pre-married life.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
like, I think
exactly.
we probably all faced that before, and it's a growing and learning, and also recognizing that not all of your friends are going to love the person that you're marrying, and that's okay too. You love the person you're marrying, and that's what matters. So it's about, you know, intertwining those things, and family dynamics. It may be that you don't have children, but you've got to learn how to fit into a family that isn't like what you're used to, not what you've grown up with. It's about learning how to make adjustments if your partner has to move for a job. How do you work around that? How do you plan for that? How do you plan for, you know, 6 months down the road, one of you is ill, or one of your family members is ill? How do you deal with crisis? And I don't think you can ever be totally prepared for that. But I think the more you communicate and the more you share and the more you learn what makes the other one tick, it's probably a really good lesson to
learn. And do couples come back to you, Kim, sometimes, like after they've been married a couple of years, and let's say there is a crisis in the family, or have you had that as well, where they...
I've had quite a few wedding couples who have lost a parent or a loved one, and you know, 6 months, a year, 2 years down the road, and asked if I would do the funeral.
Okay.
And, you know, we have friends of ours who, there's 3 girls in the family, and I officiated at 2 out of the 3 daughters' weddings, and their dad was not well, and he was a dear friend, and ended up doing his funeral not all that long ago, did his mom's funeral. And so those are the kind of people, again, it's connections, right? It's connecting with people and being real. And I don't ever want to be, you know, that person that is above all of that other stuff out there. Like, I just want to connect, and I just want to help you create your wedding to be what it is, so that your marriage has the starting point of a solid foundation and moving forward from there.
Yeah. Oh, that's so beautiful. I love that. So how many years have you been married?
21.
21. What's your wedding story?
Really?
Yeah. And I want to know what the dress looked like.
Oh. Our wedding story, when Jared and I first met, I couldn't stand him. Like, really could not stand him. Ask any of my friends, ask my parents. I don't think they could stand him either. They love him now. I think they actually love him more than they love me, which is so awesome. Like, there's nothing more special than having a wonderful relationship with your in-laws. So Jared and we started dating in the March, and we actually got engaged in July.
No way. So how did you guys meet, first of all?
We met through camp. So we had known
cool.
each other since we were 17 years old.
Okay.
So we got married, and the day we got married, oh my gosh, it was so stinking hot. And we got married in the church that I grew up in, no air conditioning. And it was like 40 degrees before the Humidex. It was awful. And the guys, that was in the day where they wore the full suit and the vest and the bow tie. And so I remember my dad and I got to the back of the church, and it was full because I had all my kids from dance. I had all the youth group. People just came to be part of the ceremony, not the reception, but they came, and he looked at me, he said, "Are you ready?" And I was like, "Let's do this." And we walked in, and literally, like, the sweat was just pouring off of all of us. So every time we prayed, the minister would like hand us Kleenex, and we'd be like whipping them out of places and like wiping the sweat off us. And it was just, oh yeah, it was so hot, but it was so great. We had a beautiful ceremony, and we got to, you know, pick the music that we wanted and the people that we wanted. And yeah, we crammed a whole lot of people in that little tiny place. And that was our wedding. And then we had our reception at the Oakville Golf and Country Club on 6th Line. I grew up backing onto that. My parents still live in the same house. And yeah, but we had these like amazing appetizers planned, and this, like, we had it, everything was like so planned out. The receiving line was going to happen. This is what, and we went to have pictures taken, got to the golf club, and there was nobody out. Everybody had already gone inside because it was so hot. They took all of the appetizers inside. We never greeted one of our guests. We never had a receiving line. It was like, oh, not only that, we didn't even have any of the appetizers. I was like, are you kidding me? Everybody just went, and I was like, no, it's fine. We had a great dinner, so it was good, but it was just so hot.
That is so funny. I love that story. And okay, so you were engaged in March and got married in July.
We started dating.
Dating in March.
Got engaged in July, and then got married the following June.
Okay, so it's like a year and a half.
Yeah.
Time. Okay.
That's
cool. Still fast. I think we were engaged for 4 years, and then wow.
I know.
That's amazing.
When you know, right? And couples sometimes don't believe that, or people who are just starting to date, they're like, you were right. Like my goddaughter who's getting married this weekend in Arizona. And I mean, last year at this time, she was literally here in Canada, and we were driving to go see our daughter, Aimee, who goes to University of Guelph. And I remember having this conversation with her and saying, tell me about this guy that you're dating. She's like, well, I don't know, it's kind of this. And I was like, okay. And when you kissed him, did you know this is who you were going to marry? And she's like, yes. She's like, you've been telling me that since I was a little girl, and I never believed. I'm like, but and you just, you don't question it. And if you do question it, then chances are it's probably not the best person for you. Right. Yeah. And I just remember saying to her too, can you imagine living your life without him? What would your life be with? And she's like, I can't. I said, then there's your
answer. Yeah. Oh, wow. That's so beautiful. So that's happening this weekend, her wedding?
In Arizona. Yeah.
In Arizona.
I'm going to FaceTime with her in the morning, and we're going to have some time together before she starts getting ready for her day. So it'll be
that'll be good. So you'll be there somewhat virtually then.
Yeah, I'll be in her heart. It's good.
Yeah, exactly.
A lot of things. Yeah. And so there's a couple of other weddings that have been postponed to next year. And so it's fitting everybody's wedding in, right? And then just hoping and praying that next year at this time, we'll be in a better position COVID wise, that we can gather in groups and have the wedding of dreams, right?
Yeah, exactly. Their wishes will come true. I know it's hard. I've even heard of some people doing like virtual weddings, like where it's crazy. But you know what? That's what all of this time is about. We just have to adjust. We got to rework the way that we're doing things, rethink stuff. I mean, a lot of things I think will maybe change for the better, other things not so much, but we have to go with the flow. And I feel like, I don't know about you this weekend, Kim, but it sort of felt like if you're going to enjoy summer at all, like got to do it now. I was outside the whole weekend. I was up at the cottage, and I jumped in the lake every day, and I swam like 600 meters, and I was like, okay,
oh my God,
this feels like there should be ice cubes in the water, but I had to do it because, it's going to be a long winter. And speaking of long winters and, mental illness, depression, like this is, I feel sort of scared for what's coming for a lot of people, because we were sort of lucky that COVID started in March, and then we had all these beautiful months to be out in nature. Now, a lot of people are not going to want to go outside in the cold. I would encourage everybody to do it as much as you hate it. It's still going to benefit you. But what are you guys doing at your ministry? Like, you're doing online services now and things like that?
We've just started. Yeah. So at our church, at Wellington Square Night Church, we have 2 different worship services. So one is at 9 o'clock. It's a more contemporary feel with a band. And then we have an 11 o'clock traditional service. Mm-hmm. Since COVID, we have been going live on YouTube. It's actually a pre-recorded service. So we all pre-record our own bits and pieces, put it all together in a service. The band records their stuff, and then it's uploaded, and we have church together at 10 a.m. And we're able to, because it's live, we actually have like a chat on the side so people can still talk and connect. And then we've just started broadcasting the 11 o'clock traditional service as well. This will be the 3rd Sunday that we've gone back to in-person worship, but there's some pretty strict rules and protocol that you have to follow, right? Like, we still can't sing, so you've got to wear your mask. You have to sit. You can only be in your bubble. You can't stay to socialize. You can't talk to somebody else. You can't, all of the Bibles and hymn books and stuff have all been taken out of the pews. There's no cushions, so everything. Your seat is harder. So there's lots of no kids programming can be live. No youth group can be live on a Sunday morning. Youth group, because they're older, they can gather for youth group midweek. So Adam, who is our youth director, he does that stuff. But Sunday mornings, we can't have those kids in. We're not set up for that to keep, properly distanced. Kids would have to wear masks the whole time. And how do you, when you haven't seen somebody in a long time, what's the first thing you want to do? Like, if you and I were in person, right? Yes.
I know. I'd be like,
I know.
It'd be so hard. And I've had that with friends where I'm like, just, doing this, and it's hard.
It is very hard. And so we've just been encouraging people to keep those connections, right? Keep FaceTiming, keep, Zoom calls. Everybody talks about Zoom fatigue, and that's a real thing, but it's so important to try and keep connected to people so that they feel like they're not, they're not on their own. And I know in our house, like, there's 4 of us, and our house isn't huge. And thankfully, as we've been kind of going through the motions since March, we've all kind of taken those different ups and downs of things. We've never all been in the same downward spiral at the same time, which is good, because then we can help each other. But for people who are on their own, it is really hard. And so, check up on your people and make sure that they're doing okay. We've done lots of meal drops. So we've made Easter, we started with it. And I think we had 8 meal drops from Hamilton through to Mississauga, and just, then at least you get to physically see someone, because that's what people are missing, is the actual face-to-face connection. That's really, really hard.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it's so important for people to have hope. And I know, even for me, I mean, growing up, my parents were both Lutheran, but we were the type of family that went to church on special occasions, right? And we weren't really practicing religion. There was always, I think, especially for my dad and I, and now my mom, there were always discussions around spirituality. Like, my dad had a real belief that, when he died, his energy would not die, that he would always be there. And we would have really deep conversations about those types of things. So no matter how you look at it, if it's a spiritual thing, if it's the more traditional, I still think, and the reason I'm saying this is, after my dad died, my mom and I decided that we would go back to the Lutheran church and just enjoy some sermons. And there were a lot of religious stories that were told, but the minister at the time, much like you, Kim, had this spirit about him where he was really standing up there to teach life lessons, to give people hope, to make them feel that they could get out into the world and do good things. And I think what it really did for us was it helped to sort of, when somebody so close to you dies, you're speaking of bubbles, your world becomes very small, and the grief is so intense. And by doing that, it kind of slowly started to like I'm trying to think of how it felt. It just felt like my heart was opening a little bit more. And then I was meeting new people there, and it was a good experience. And I think sometimes, for somebody like you are so uplifting. I've heard your sermons before, and people are to take advantage of being able to go online on a Sunday morning and listen to you, whether you are religious or not. I think there's a huge benefit to that. So,
and I think recognizing too, right? There's always going to be periods of darkness, whether we're in COVID or not. But it's looking for those moments of light, because light truly shines in the darkness. And that's something that we continually remind ourselves of at our house. Just, there will be dark moments, but light always shines in that darkness. There's always that little glimmer of hope, that little glimmer of faith or peace, whatever you want to call it. For us, it's, God just shines those little God winks, right? Those moments where you kind of go, that's, maybe it's a coincidence to some people. I don't know. However you choose to look at it, it's looking for that hope, looking for that light, looking for the love in those moments where you're struggling. And goodness knows, I mean, grief has so many chapters, as I'm sure you can attest to when you lost your dad. Like, different parts and pieces that you go through. And losing someone right now during COVID is so difficult, because you can't grieve with your greater family. You can't grieve as a community. You can't all come together for a funeral, because you can only gather with so many people. And two of my best friends, one lost her mom and one lost her dad in the midst of this. And it's just so difficult to find that closure and to find, and how do you help somebody when you lose someone? Your instinct, somebody dies, and what do you want to do? You want to go and just hug them and hold them, and
Yeah, and one of the things I thought of, like, when all this was happening and people were passing away, I thought one of the greatest gifts of a funeral, like, to me, when I think of my dad's funeral, the people that I remember are the people who I wasn't that close to, like, where it was like work colleagues and people that were in his circle that I knew of them, but I maybe hadn't met them or had only met them a couple times. And they would say, your father was such a great man. I remember when he did this and this. And it's like, all of a sudden you're learning something. I see my dad as my dad, but now he's a colleague and he's a friend to this person, and he helped somebody along the way over here. And you realize, like, how many facets there are to this human being that you love so much, and you think you know everything about them, but you don't, right? And I think,
isn't it great to hear those stories? And but that's what's missing, right? So actually, with both of my friends who lost a parent, they set up an email account so that people can actually send in their stories about their parent and how they met and how. So wonderful. Right, like, and so then you print them all off, and the grandkids who, my one girlfriend, her little girl won't remember her Nana. She'll remember her through the stories that we tell her and those things. And then my other friend, the kids are old enough that they will remember. But how awesome is it that you will have a book for generations to come of, here's who everybody else thought of, here's the stories of when Nana worked at the hospital as a nurse. Here's the stories of Opa, when Opa, ran his Tim Hortons, and all of these things that just are really going to, it's a legacy that a person leaves, right? And that's what you want to share. But again, it's that light, right? That light that shines in the darkness, that even in the difficult times, you're still receiving that love. And it's hard to accept it sometimes, especially during grief, but it's important to be open.
So important. I have to share with you, Kim, when my dad turned 70, my mom snuck around for months before his 70th birthday and got everybody who my dad knows to write something about my dad and put it all in a book and with pictures.
Oh, that's awesome.
So he got to read what other people knew about him and loved about him while he was alive.
Isn't that awesome?
Oh, and then such a beautiful gift for our family now that he's passed. So my brother and I did the same thing for my mom on her 80th. And it's great. And now during COVID, I mean, my mom is she's reading her book. She's reading my dad's book. You know, it really is people sometimes I think also feel like when somebody passes on or someone's going through a difficult time, they think, oh, I don't want to bother them. I don't want to. But I'm telling you, the greatest thing you can do is reach out and go, hey, I heard about your dad or your mom. And I remember this one day when I ran into them at the grocery store. And even if they only said 3 words, it is like the heavens opened up and you just got the greatest gift. Like,
right?
Just tell people,
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if we can just encourage people to speak of love when the person's living too, right? Because I mean, how often have we said, like, you learn the most about a person at their funeral? Well, why? Like, why can't we learn about the person when they're living and share those stories? You know, you don't know how quickly life can change, and it's about sharing those memories and, you know.
Yeah. One of my best friends, I got to tell you, she posted the most hilarious thing on her, I think it was on her Facebook it was on her Instagram. And it said, tell your friends you love them. Really tell them you love them. And then it said, like, make it weird. Right. So then I was like, so I put, I love you in 3 different comments and hearts and hearts and hearts. And then, but it's true, right? Why don't we? Come on.
Exactly. And it's so important, right? I mean, I'm always telling my friends I love them. And do they think I'm weird? Probably. But I think, you know, my girlfriend and I were having a conversation last night about how freaking hilarious we are. And like, why doesn't the rest of the world appreciate it? We're not freaking hilarious. Well, we are. But it's that finding those moments to connect with people and to let them know, like, don't ever leave somebody without them knowing that you care about them. Yeah. Don't ever leave a conversation. Don't ever, you know, send a snail mail. If you know. I had to teach my girls how to address an envelope because they were like, where do we put the address? Where do we put the return? Because everybody's so used to texting and stuff now, right? Like,
I guess we can't lick the envelopes anymore.
Well, maybe they've
glue stick,
right? Or the peel and stick envelopes, like the ones that they rip off.
Yes. Yeah.
Also, those licky ones are disgusting.
I know. Is that funny? There are certain things
like, where totally like,
we did that. I know. It makes you. Oh God. A friend was saying she was watching a movie with her son the other day, and he's like, Mom, isn't this weird? Like, these people are like breathing on each other. Everyone's really close. Like, that's what the world is changing, man.
We'll watch something on Netflix and we're like, oh my gosh, they're too close.
Yeah.
Like, oh no, that's but how sad that like babies right now, they're not going to know what it is to, you know, run into somebody else's arms and be hugged. They're not going to know what people look like from, you know, here down, because we've got our masks on. And how do we help kids get adjusted to being part of, you know, thank goodness for modern technology that we can have crazy FaceTime calls and we can hear people's voices, but talk about making strange. I mean, I think we're all going to make strange when we can be back together again.
Yeah, for sure.
Weird to readjust, but
I know. Well, we have amazing people like you to be on the journey with, bringing the light, the hope, the love. Kim, I'm so happy. I'm so happy you said yes to this.
Meanwhile, when I was like, I don't do these kinds of things. I don't want that.
Oh, no, you're so good at it. I think it's wonderful.
Well, thanks.
Yeah, you've inspired a lot of people today. And, you know, you've also given hope to young couples who are wanting to get married. And
don't lose hope.
No.
Just wait. There's ways around everything. And that's what I keep telling people, right? Where there's a will, there's a way, and it'll happen. Yeah,
for sure. So Kim, I always ask my guests if you would please join me for a little after party on Instagram.
I will.
A short break.
Also, those who are going to join us, I brought we're going to do a little toast for your anniversary.
Oh, that's so nice.
So you pick. We have red or I have sparkling What would you rather? I'll drink it for you, but I was just wondering.
Okay, I think the bubbles. We got to do the bubbles.
We'll do that. So we can.
So we're gonna crack it open on the Instagram live.
Yeah, live party.
Okay. That's amazing. Love you, Kim.
Love you too. Thank you for having me on. Make sure you and Wayne enjoy your evening. Go do something fun.
Yeah, we will for sure.
Celebrate.
Thank you so much. We'll see you soon on Instagram. Okay.
Sounds good. Bye.
Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Isn't she lovely? That was such a great conversation with beautiful Kim Belanger, and check her out. Yeah, definitely. You know what? I think now, like, we need hope. We need light. Even if you're not a religious person, it's okay, you know, to check out and see if maybe there's somebody like Kim who's doing a sermon that you want to listen to that's just about life and about, you know, going forward in a positive way. There's so much negativity online. We really need to protect ourselves and take the winter off of this negativity. You know, just treat yourself to positive reinforcement. I think you'll come out feeling way better in the spring. And I just wish that everybody will feel good for the next few months. I know we still have some nice days ahead of us, so I shouldn't be talking like we're in the middle of a snowstorm here, but the days are getting shorter, and I know a lot of us are kind of going through this we're feeling a slump. So try to keep yourself up and happy. You can also do that by shopping at brendabadome.com and using the coupon code Get to Know Her for 13% off of your order. And don't forget, send me pictures. I want to see you in your Brenda Badome outfit. So we'll see you over on the Instagram after party. Thank you so much for joining today. And if you happen to be watching this on YouTube, I would love for you to subscribe and let your friends know about the Get to Know Her show. Take care. Have a great day, everybody. Thanks so much.